Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from Confessions. Our first post is by Face Jr. My girlfriend married her cousin. I, 26M, have been in a 2.5-year relationship with my 26F girlfriend. When we first started dating, our relationship was good but not great. There was more effort on my end than hers. She was heavily into drinking with her friends and would constantly go to bars. A few months into our relationship, she went on vacation with her friends and came back. We had a small staycation together after I had brought up the lack of time we got to spend together since she was always drinking with friends. During that staycation, I went through her cell phone. It wasn't right of me, and I let the insecurities of maybe she doesn't want to hang out because of me get the better of me. In her cell phone, I noticed her cousin had been messaging her, calling her his wife, saying how beautiful she is, and she was responding back, although not lovey, but still saying how she missed him, etc. To elaborate on the cousin thing, she is Muslim and in her culture religion. Cousins are not seen as incest while it is seen as incest here in the US. We initially had an argument about it. She was, and I went through her phone. I was obviously upset over the messages from her cousin, but she assured me that nothing was going on, that he is just weird, she has no feelings for him, they've never done anything, etc. He was fresh off the boat. Over a year passes. Even with her assurance, I'm still unsettled over everything. I notice the differences in myself, in her, and our relationship. I was more suspicious of everything. She was more secretive. A few weeks ago, I again went through her phone. I saw her talking to her friend about how her husband berates her, is pushing for them to have kids, etc. So again we argue. She's once again mad. I went through her phone. I'm once again mad over this scenario. I also see her talking to another friend where her friend mentions how my girlfriend has to deal with a marriage situation. My girlfriend finally admits that while on vacation in Dubai, her cousin kissed her and grabbed her boobs. A few days pass, suspicion builds more, and arguments ensue. Finally, the full truth comes out. Her and her cousin has passionately touched while on vacation, and last November they got married. She says it's a green card marriage, that in order to borrow money from her family, she had to get married to her cousin. I've been struggling mentally over the fact that she's lied, kept secrets, manipulated me, and gaslit me. She most recently tried to buy my silence. I broke up with her, but she doesn't want me to tell anyone out of fear of her being judged. I suppose this confession is a way for me to get everything off my brain without feeling embarrassed or causing her to get judged. Our next post is by Acceptable Brick. My brother went from killing animals to being a kindergarten graduate. My brother is 6 years old. I am 28. To make things as simple as possible, my parents suck. Like, they really suck. Last January, I had just started my last semester of nursing school. One day I was walking out to my truck to go to class, and Department of Social Services is in the driveway. They tell me that my brother is going into foster care tomorrow, and I'm the only option left, so they wanted to ask me before they proceeded. I didn't even know my brother had been taken or anything that had been going on. Again, my parents suck, and I had blocked them and shut off all contact for a while. Apparently, 2 months prior, my brother's mom had another baby that was born in withdrawal from drugs. My dad also failed drugs. Unfortunately, the baby died. My brother was also removed that day. He had went to another family member initially, but she could not handle him, and there was no other family members that could pass a drug test, except me. I decided to take him. They warned me. He's violent, his behaviors are horrible, he has hurt animals. I took him anyway. I hadn't saw my brother much in the last couple of years, but I decided to give it a shot. It was a nightmare. He was 5 and had been expelled from kindergarten twice. I tried to enroll him in kindergarten at a different school, but he couldn't function a day without hitting, cussing, destroying classrooms, throwing stuff. One day, his kindergarten teacher had to evacuate the classroom because he was destroying it. I had to put him in a school for children who can't function in public school. He went there for 9 months. He hit me, kicked me, spit on me, screamed at me, actively defied me, and laughed about it. I had to re-potty train him. He had been having accidents prior to coming to me. I filed an investigation for SA, which I 100% know he was, but no evidence, blah blah. I started him in therapy. He has ODD, ADHD, RAD, and PTSD. I had to leave class every day to pick him up. I was scared I was going to fail, but somehow I didn't. I got a job in the emergency department and had to leave a lot to pick him up. Scared I was going to get fired, but didn't. I tried everything. I cried and prayed more than I ever have. I read 100 different parenting books. I went to therapy for myself because it was so much, and I felt like my 2 children weren't getting any of the attention they deserved because what little I had to pour I poured into him. I started going to therapy with him weekly. One day, I went to the courthouse to relinquish my custodial rights. I just couldn't take it anymore. 2 days later, I took it back and kept telling myself, don't give up. Be who you needed. My brother hasn't had any accidents in a year. He hasn't harmed any animals. He had to repeat kindergarten, but he has repeated it in public school, and I haven't had to pick him up in over 6 months. He can now count to 100 when before he couldn't even recognize the numbers between 1 and 10. He can read when before he couldn't even recognize any letters of the alphabet. He says please and thank you and listens when he is told to do something or to stop doing something. He doesn't kick or hit or bite or scream. And just last week he walked across the stage as a kindergarten graduate. A day I often wondered would even be possible. I believe my brother, my son, is going to grow up and do very big things. I'm glad I didn't give up. I'm glad I could be who I needed. Our next post is by Status OK. Got my groceries held hostage because I didn't tip beforehand. I'm done. I use a delivery service that brings my groceries directly to my door. It's been a great help and saves tons of time. It's a dice roll whenever you order though. There are definitely some questionable people doing deliveries. I've had a couple bad experiences, so for that reason I choose not to tip until after the service is complete. I tip anywhere from 10–15%. I think that's reasonable and fair. I usually tip more if I order heavy items like soda or bottled water. Really, I don't think tipping should exist at all. I can't tell you how annoyed I get when I have an iPad shoved in my face by cashiers, people handing you your to-go order, and even the guy that fixed our air conditioning. It's presumptuous and rude. You're getting put in this awkward position where you're expected to subsidize the wages of people who've done the bare minimum in order to fulfill the service I've already paid for. Tips used to be reserved for people that went out of their way to do a great job. Anyway, I opened the door today to a lady with no groceries in hand, who, instead of greeting me, abruptly asks if I'm planning on leaving a tip. I told her that I tip based on the service I receive, which means I have to tip after she finishes the delivery. This woman loudly sucks her teeth and tells me I'm not getting my order until I give a tip. She's very adamant that I tip her in cash. I asked her to deliver my groceries first and she flat out refuses. I just stared at her in shock. We stand in silence awkwardly until I told her that I've already paid for my order and it's her job to make sure I get it regardless of what I tip. Before I can even finish my sentence, this lady walks away, shuts her trunk, and drives off. I spent the next half an hour being bounced around from person to person on the customer service chat, only to be told that I had to call in to resolve the problem. One disgruntled phone call later, and I finally got my refund and my driver reported. I'm done with tipping. I'm so tired of being guilted into paying on top of an already expensive bill just because the owners don't want to pay their workers a decent living. You can call me selfish or rude, but I'm past the point of being moved by social pressure to tip. From now on, I'll be discontinuing all tips. It's not fair to the customer or the employee. It relies on guilt and preys on people's fear of social awkwardness in order to fleece us. We should not be worrying that an employee won't deliver our order or spit in our food if we dare not to tip. If prices go up, fine. I want to know exactly what I'm paying for something. No more, not mandatory, but actually mandatory gratuity. If enough of us do it, tipped employees will be motivated to demand compensation from the people who should actually be paying. It's not the customer's responsibility to pay your staff. Our next post is by Best Will. My dad's girlfriend is really cool. I am a teenage guy, and my dad's girlfriend is honestly the coolest person. For some background, my dad has a job that requires him to be away from home for weeks at a time, and he and Mariah, girlfriend, have been together for 7 years. If you're wondering about my mom, she died when I was young. Mariah is really chill about homework and chores. We have a lot of things in common. She acts in a motherly way towards me, and she even calls me Honey Bun as my nickname. She is also kind of a fitness nut and likes to work out and do yoga, and she even got me into it too. She makes the best food, and I like cooking with her. She treats my dad like how he deserves and is the literal sweetest and most loving person in the world. She makes my family feel complete, and she even asked Emmy to walk her down the aisle when she and my dad get married this summer. Edit. So at the request of others, I have decided to tell Mariah how much she means to me. Today she made breakfast and I told her, Mariah, I know I don't say it a lot, but you mean so much to me, and I think you're the coolest and most kindest person ever. I love you so much, Mom. She had to stop eating cause she started crying, and she hugged me and said that I will always be her boy. On top of that, she revealed that she's pregnant. I am getting a sibling. She has told my dad and he is also very excited, but dear God, I am just so friggin' excited right now. Thank you so much everyone who commented. I hope you all have an amazing day. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.